Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to stay updated with our latest videos. We utilized a single lead actor for each scene, and the energy on set was electrifying. If you know someone who would be a good fit, please email or call us. On March 12, 2025, early in the morning, several news outlets reported shocking news at the same time. Mike Wolfe, the star of the show American Pickers, is facing serious charges. The investigation suspects him of smuggling artifacts across borders, manipulating the antique auction market, and even killing a famous historian. This scandal is shaking a market worth tens of millions of dollars, and everyone in the antiques community is waiting for what happens next. People have long viewed Mike Wolfe as the embodiment of a passion for history. He was the man who went across America on the show American Pickers looking for and restoring lost antiques, but his 46-day trial has shown him in a very different light. Someone accuses a cold, calculating man of having shady connections to the trafficking of rare items from the Middle East and Europe. Behind the warm and friendly TV persona, there is a dark world. On June 17, 2023, a neighbor in Bloomington, Indiana, called the police to report a strange smell coming from the basement of a house. The house in question belongs to Professor Harold Clemens, a retired historian who used to teach at the University of Chicago and is renowned for his work on American Civil War artifacts. When the police went into the basement, they found Clemens lying on his back with a small object in his right hand, a silver pocket watch. The words on the face of the watch were faint but still readable: RK1. 1887 Honor Not Glory. At first, it was thought that the old man had died peacefully of old age, but it was the watch that changed everything. A week later, the Savannah National Museum released an internal memo that said the watch had been part of their valuable battlefield heritage collection and had gone missing during a storage transfer in 2019. The event was kept secret because the museum didn't want it to hurt its image. But now, the object had suddenly shown up again in the hands of a dead person and a well-known expert on historical artifacts. A Reddit user named GearGhost82 made a thread on the antique section and said, "I swear I saw this exact watch in an unaired episode of American Pickers when Mike Wolfe visited a farm in Kentucky. This is what really made the story go viral." That's what he said about the watch: it tells stories no one else knows. In just 48 hours, dozens of other users said they had seen the same item on the show or in a video that went viral on YouTube in 2021 before it was taken down. Some even said they had seen it on display in a glass case at Mike Wolfe's antique archaeology store in Nashville, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. Many people are confused about the strange link between Professor Clemens' death and the pictures from the popular reality show. Why does this happen? Is it all a coincidence? Or is it the start of a much bigger mystery? It was in July 2023 that the FBI and the International Antiquities Trafficking Task Force, a group that specializes in cases involving stolen or illegally traded cultural artifacts, began a quiet but serious probe. Rust Rail, a metaphor for the complex, dusty, and tangled path the valuable artifacts took, was the name of the operation. The main goal of the operation was to find out if Mike Wolfe, the popular host of American Pickers, was involved in a network of illegal antiquities trafficking on a federal and maybe even an international level. One of the first clues that sped up the investigation was a 14-minute History Channel video leaked by a former employee. In it, Mike is seen negotiating the purchase of a set of military pocket watches from an unknown man in an old warehouse near Paducah, Kentucky, while holding an Elgin watch, a well-known American brand. Mike says something controversial: "I know this used to belong to an officer, it has real historical value, and I won't ask where you got it." This comment makes a lot of people wonder if Mike knew about the artifact's shady past but chose to ignore it. The investigation team's suspicions got even stronger when they learned that Mike Wolfe was related to Professor Harold Clemens, who died in 2017 while wearing a silver watch with the words RK187 engraved on it. During a short appearance on a TV show about historical artifacts, Clemens said something cryptic: "Some things should never be sold because they carry painful memories that no amount of money can buy back." After Clemens's death, a forensic technician recovered an email from his computer that showed a deeper concern. "I believe I have uncovered a string of illegal transactions involving a well-known television personality," which he wrote to a close friend. "I am seriously considering alerting the federal authorities." The letter was sent just 3 days before he died, but police did not find any clear signs of murder, and the medical examiner's report only said that he had a small bruise on the back of his head, which may have been caused by a blow before he passed out. There was a big change in the case. Mike Wolfe was put under close watch, and what seemed like a small thing, a silver watch, turned out to be the key that brought down an entire ancient kingdom. Investigators started going through all of American Pickers' episodes and officially asked the History Channel and the production company for all of their old records. What they found was strange. Between 2020 and 2023, Mike Wolfe and his crew bought more than 40 items that had never been shown on TV. The receipts for some of the transactions were sketchy, and there was no clear proof of the item's storage or the seller's identity. One of these items was the fateful silver watch. Since the investigators couldn't get in touch with Mike Wolfe directly, they turned to people close to him. While police were watching people for almost 6 hours in southern Missouri, Craig Salinas's name stood out. He was the crew's driver and major logistics coordinator. Salinas was caught on camera driving a truck with the logo of an antique archaeology company to an empty warehouse, which wasn't supposed to be used for filming. There, police dressed as building inspectors found a bunch of sealed wooden crates full of artifacts from the 18th and 19th centuries, including at least 3 things that have been reported stolen from a museum in Georgia. The big breakthrough came when the investigation team got search warrants for 2 private storage facilities owned by a company called Time Vault Logistics LLC, of which Mike Wolfe owned most of the shares after going through 3 levels of financial intermediaries. In the Ohio warehouse, they found another huge treasure: pistols from the Civil War, torn manuscripts, and a nearly 3-foot-tall statue of an Egyptian god that were stored in shockproof boxes. Internal reports identified the statue as a match to the artifact stolen from the Luxor Museum in 2011. Following the money, the FBI discovered that Mike owned at least 5 subsidiaries in tax havens such as Malta and the Cayman Islands. Between 2016 and 2023, nearly $4.7 million was transferred between these companies under the guise of antiquities transactions. Notably, none of the activity was verified by a reputable appraiser or professional auction house. A Swiss bank account under the name of Mike Wolfe even received a $150,000 transfer from an individual linked to the underground antiquities market in Aleppo, Syria, a place that has been accused of being a transit point for cultural artifacts looted during the war. Particularly troubling is the way the entire system operates. After each filming, the goods are not sent back to antique archaeology headquarters but are instead handed over to third parties through contracts signed using virtual fax applications paid entirely in cash or cryptocurrency. The main coordinator, a man of Eastern European origin, is recorded in Mike's internal messages under the alias Mayan, whose real identity has not yet been determined. In November 2023, the FBI officially began to penetrate a shady network of historical artifacts after Mike Wolfe, a famous reality TV star, was found at an antique shop in New Mexico. He was thought to be an important link in a chain of activities that involved trafficking and transporting illegal antiques. On the night of December 3, an undercover agent met with Mike in a secret meeting via an audio call that wasn't recorded. What was recorded from that call and later leaked in court was a shocking quote: "Not everything is for TV, some things are for people who really understand their value, not the audience." Soon after getting that mysterious call, the FBI quickly searched 3 places they thought were connected to questionable archaeological activities. One of these was a warehouse deep in North Nashville, where agents found a handwritten list in a code of 17 rare artifacts along with their black market value and the date of the transaction. Next to it was Mike Wolfe's personal notebook, which had a penciled note that said, "They will never understand this is about heritage, not money." However, even in the name of preserving heritage, the law does not allow actions that cross ethical and legal lines. There is a growing body of evidence, including undocumented artifacts, unclear financial accounts, and notes that show an intention to hide Mike Wolfe was officially named as the main suspect in a scandal that could shake up the whole U.S. reality TV industry. The federal trial started on January 9, 2025, in Chicago. There was tight security outside the courthouse, and hundreds of reporters crowded around to cover the case. Many supporters held up Free Mike signs, thinking that this was all a big mistake. But what was said in the courtroom was a whisper. 6 major charges were listed in a 39-page indictment. Transporting ancient artifacts illegally, foreign trafficking, and not paying taxes on cultural property are all examples of blocking the law. They were involved in money laundering and concealed evidence related to a suspicious death. The public received access to several previously unreleased photos and videos. One of them showed Mike Wolfe making a cash deal with a Syrian man in a Detroit garage in exchange for a small box of fake Roman coins. Prosecutors stressed that this wasn't just a collection, but a sophisticated trafficking network posed as TV. The most shocking revelation came from Frank Fritz's testimony. Frank was a longtime friend and co-creator of American Pickers. He agreed to go on the stand and said that he and Mike had promised to only collect legal items at first, but things started to change when Mike became obsessed with finding the rarest artifacts regardless of what the law said. Frank discussed a time in 2021 when they found a wartime diary in Arkansas. A few weeks later, he saw copies of the diary being sold on the black market for many times the price. The defense didn't want to deal with the physical evidence directly, so they tried to make Mike look like an antiquities fanatic caught up in an uncontrollable system. They said that the transactions were handled by a backroom staff and that the offshore accounts were just real savings accounts for the foreign collection during the 31-day trial. When the jury finally asked Mike Wolfe if he wanted to speak, he stood up, looked them in the eyes with a sad face, and said, "I never thought of myself as a criminal. I just wanted to save what other people had thrown away. If that is a crime, then I am willing to accept it." The media quickly used the statement to split the public's opinion between support and criticism. On the day of the sentencing, it took the judge just over 4 minutes to read the verdict, but it had a lasting effect because of the size of the organization, its level of sophistication, and its effect on global culture. Mike Wolfe lost all rights to the show and the American Picker name when he received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The consequence was the end of a controversial chapter in the history of American reality TV. An older man couldn't hold back his tears. For more than a decade, he had been a devoted fan of the show American Pickers, regularly posting on fan forums about his love of antiques and praising Mike Wolfe as a living icon of the world of pop archaeology, but that pride was now turning into a bitter memory. The biggest question was, if Mike Wolfe was the public face of a powerful antiques empire, who were the people behind the scenes? The History Channel abruptly announced 3 days after Mike Wolfe was sentenced for undisclosed reasons that it was canceling American Pickers and removing all related content from its streaming platform. YouTube, which had millions of views, quietly deleted its old videos. The site, which used to be a hub for archaeological digs, antique sales, and history buffs, suddenly went blank, leaving only the words, "temporarily suspended." A name that was once thought to be a legacy of American television disappeared so quickly that it was as if it had never existed at all. The government shut down the venues where Mike held his exhibitions in Iowa and Tennessee. He had called them, "sacred places for those who honor the past." The Heritage Administration was given access to a secret storage facility north of Nashville that was thought to be a hub for rare relics. An inventory that took almost a month to complete found many artifacts that did not have the right paperwork, and some were thought to be fake or from war zones like Iraq, Syria and Yemen. The most famous item was a marble statue believed to have originated from an Ottoman royal tomb, which had been missing since 2003. The news shocked the international antiques auction market, and prestigious auction houses like Sotheby's and Christie's immediately announced a review of all transactions related to Mike Wolfe. Many deals worth hundreds of thousands of dollars were cancelled, and private collectors panicked because their items could be taken away for investigation. The public was divided. There are fan groups on sites like X. Many people on Twitter and Reddit thought Mike might just be a scapegoat in a larger, shadowy system where politics, art, and commerce are deeply connected. What made things even stranger was a list of 17 documents found in Mike's personal archive, along with the encrypted records and unverified artifacts. The last page had the cryptic handwritten line Q7R3. Analysts and theorists of the VTI quickly tried to figure out the code and came up with several theories. Some people thought it might be an acronym for a secret group that deals in high-level antiquities. Others even thought it stood for an unofficial intelligence agency with ties to powerful religious groups around the world, but there was no solid evidence to back these ideas. This mysterious line of code transformed the story from a scandal to an unsolvable riddle. It was as interesting as any detective movie, a man, or a popular TV show. People can't stop thinking about Mike Wolfe's personal notebook, which is another fascinating detail. The forensic investigation team released a document after the shocking case. It was tucked between notes that seemed unrelated, like Episode 312 Old Truck Scene Cut or Follow the Keeper of the Leopard Skin Collection. On it was a tightly folded page with only one handwritten line, "Not all the past should be brought to light." This short but meaningful sentence makes many people think that Mike left it on purpose as a message. A quiet message in the middle of the scandal at Terrett Federal Prison, where Mike Wolfe is spending his time. The reporters are not allowed to get in. A former friend said that Mike had shut himself off from everyone, he didn't talk to anyone alone and didn't make any special requests. It was as if he had accepted his fate in a closed-door hearing. In March 2025, an FBI agent said that the investigation was still going on and that several people involved were being formally subpoenaed. One of these people was a former programming director at the History Channel who had been responsible for reviewing the cut episodes. Nobody is aware of the intentional deletion, editing, or omission of certain scenes. To understand how things got this far, we have to go back to where Mike Wolfe started his journey. He was born in 1964 in Joliet, Illinois. Mike grew up in a working-class home with 2 siblings and a single mother. Unlike his friends, who were crazy about baseball cards, Mike found broken radios, old bikes, and anything with gears in the schoolyard dump. He likes the saying, "If everyone thinks it's worthless, it's even better to keep it." In 2010, the show American Pickers aired. Mike Wolfe was in his 40s, but he still looked like a child whenever he saw an antique. People praised him for his knowledge, respect for sellers, and genuine passion, but his passion gradually became overwhelming. A former co-worker said that Mike wasn't just collecting things, he was also collecting memories and the power to control them. The pressure to rank drove Mike to illegal places like evidence warehouses, the black market, and even war zones, where he was looking for things people were afraid to keep. In Mike's mind, he was saving history from oblivion, but the law doesn't work that way, and Mike Wolfe's story from TV star to tragic end shows what can happen when lines are crossed. Mike Wolfe, currently serving as inmate 42719D54, was once synonymous with American history and culture. Now that Mike Wolfe's name has been erased from public platforms, the big question remains, was he a money-grubbing historian or the last person willing to preserve history? Mike Wolfe went around America looking for treasures from the past and ended up becoming a national TV star and then a convicted criminal. This story shows how passion and morality can clash, and how the truth will always find its way back to the surface. What do you think of Mike Wolfe's sentence? Was he punished unfairly, or did he really go too far in his search? Please let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you don't miss our next video.